So guys, we are back with another tactic video, this time post-patch on FIFA 23. This is the team that I'm using, and it's just not good. Besides Duncan, who's obviously the best player in the game, it's again, just not that good. So you know this tactic is at least halfway decent. Now I'm not gonna make this video 10, 15, 20 minutes because there's just no need to. When you are making a tactic video, it's not that deep. We are not pros. That being said, it's important to watch all the way through because there are a couple things that you really need to have, including players and instructions when using this formation. So the formation in question is the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow. Now I know people have been using it in the past, but this, since post-patch at least, has been one of the best formations that I have used. I still use the 4-3-3 version 5 occasionally, but if I need to switch it up, then again I do go to the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow, which recently, like I said, has been one of the better ones being used. Again, I won't make this video very long, but it is important to look at the tactics instructions, and we'll talk about the types of players that you're going to need, as well as an in-game little tactic that really helps out this formation. So starting first are the tactics. Now typically the tactics are not very important. I would obviously recommend a couple of things, but overall usually you can just tweak this to what you want to do. The one thing I would recommend is probably direct passing, and that's because with direct passing you actually have your players, especially your strikers who are on get in behind, actually pushing the back line. The downside to this is that the center mids, and we'll talk about it during the instructions, are on balanced everything, and so they occasionally get forward just like the strikers when you don't really need them to. So if your opponent has a very deep block, maybe it's going to be good to not have direct passing on, or at the very least have your center mids not on balance and perhaps on stay back. So it just depends on what the in-game situation is doing from your opponent specifically. Beyond that, you can pretty much just tweak it to what I want. I obviously wouldn't recommend your width at like 0 or 100. It should be around 40, your depth around 60, but again, tweak it to what you want to do all the way through this, maybe besides direct passing, but even then, that's something that you could probably tweak for yourself. Now the instructions are where it starts to get a little bit more different. Now specifically for this, I kept it relatively simple. So for example, we have our strikers on get in behind. We have a center attacking mid on get into the box for crosses, both center mids like we talked about just on balanced everything. Our center defensive mid on stay back, man mark, cover center, pretty standard there. And then our left and right backs on stay back while attacking and overlap. That's it. Those are the only instructions that we have. I kept it relatively simple for a reason. Having less instructions means your players are more free to do what they think is best. That's not always a good thing because obviously it's FIFA and the attacking AI on FIFA is absolutely shit and has been since FIFA 17. But nevertheless, at least you're not pinned into one specific instruction or tactic. Having more open instructions, like specifically on your center mids who are just on default everything, allows you to react to what your opponent is doing rather than falling into this rut and expecting the same thing to happen over and over and over. That's why we always have to switch formations occasionally, because the same thing's not going to work because we expect the same thing to happen over and over. We get into this habit of expecting the same thing to work instead of just reacting to what our opponent is doing. So with these instructions, which again are more open, we are allowed to just react to what our opponent is doing rather than again falling into that rut. Now the most important instruction in here is probably going to be the left and right back on stay back while attacking. Not because you need all of these defenders back to help you defend, but more so because you can have them just go on the attack with a switch. You can just click up and left on the D-pad while you are in game, and they switch from their stay back while attacking to actually attacking. That way we can just switch them, and if we need them to go forward, then we can do that with, again, a flick of the switch. Finally, let's talk about the types of players that you're going to need. Now we mentioned the strikers are on get in behind, so it's probably best to use controlled or lengthy players. Obviously players that you like explosive players, could probably work, but because they are on get in behind, it's probably going to be lengthy and controlled. Unfortunately, yes, we sometimes have to follow the meta, which is absolutely stupid. That being said, if your opponent is more drop back, it is probably going to be better to have explosive. So again, this formation and these tactics are more so about what your opponent is doing and reacting to them. But again, that's just for the strikers. For the center attacking mid, I'd probably recommend a more explosive player. For the center mids, probably more controlled. That way you're not fit into specifically lengthy or explosive. You can kind of do a bit of everything. And then of course the defenders being lengthy as usual is probably going to be the best case. So the main thing is probably controlled or lengthy up top, explosive at center attacking mid, and controlled at the center mids, or potentially just the midfield spots in general. Look at that, we got through the entire tactic and instructions without having to sit through 15-20 minutes of filler BS. Plus you guys got to learn something and figure out why it's actually good. This is what tactic instruction videos should do. So if you learned something from this, be sure to like and subscribe down below, and also send me a specific formation or tactic that you want me to review, because I'm always looking for fun stuff to try and see if it's actually any good. That's the main part of FIFA, believe it or not, the gameplay. So again, feel free to put that in the comments down below. If you have any questions, that's fine as well. But like I said, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been DMG. Peace.